request President of ICC to kindly escort His Holiness the Dalai Lama on the stage. We'll start with the presentation of Khaja. I request President of Indian Chamber to kindly seek His Holiness blessings. Mr. Chatterjee, the head monk, Mr. Shering, Mr. Sanjeev Goenka, Mr. Sanjay Budia, Ms. Priti Goenka, past President, LSG, Mrs. Priti Kapoor, Mrs. Alka Jalan, Mitakshara, and Shivika. His Holiness, may I request you to kindly light the lamp. It's a great occasion. We all at ICC this one also. We all at ICC feel blessed with the kind presence of His Holiness amongst us. I think it's a great occasion. It's a unique opportunity. Mr. Rudra Chatterjee, we can take a group. Yeah. We would like to start now. And to begin with, I request President ICC for his welcome address.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is an extreme honor and an extreme privilege to welcome Your Holiness, Tenzin Gyatso, the 14th Dalai Lama, to this interactive session. I also take this opportunity to welcome all the dignitaries and special guests present here today. His Holiness is a simple monk, most respected, most loved, and most revered, not only in Tibet, but by crores across India and the world. His Holiness is the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize for the betterment of humanity. In a world that is fast losing touch with its ancient wisdom and knowledge, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has brought in the message of peace, justice, mercy, humility, and hope. Spiritualism is deeply connected to ancient wisdom and knowledge. India, being a secular country, celebrates unity in diversity. Diversity in religious thoughts, ideas, ways of life, and culture. It is time that we tap the repository of ancient Indian knowledge to improve our modern-day lives. Today, we have prosperity, but peace is lacking. Our social fabric is fast depleting, which is evident in rising gender crimes. Cooperation and concept of shared prosperity is subdued, and that is evident in the form of geopolitical issues that are taking place in the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a philosopher, a saint, a monk, a teacher, a man with profound compassion, a man with great experience, and a man with great heart and learning. A man who cares for the betterment and advancement of humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Brothers and sisters, I always start my talk, use the word brothers, sisters. I really believe and feel 7 billion human beings on this planet is actually our brothers, sisters. And then I think each of us, as a matter of fact, 7 billion human beings, same way born from their mother. And the same way we received maximum affection from our mother. So those people who received at that moment maximum affection from mother, that experience, I think, remain till last day. Those individuals who may be very successful, particularly in the field of economy or business, may be very successful, but who are lacking that receiving love from mother, sometimes even unwanted child, then I think in deep inside, some sense of insecurity, whole life remain. So, therefore, we all 7 billion human beings come from their mother, all have the experience receiving maximum affection, and because of that, all 7 billion human beings, also have the sort of ability to show other love. And furthermore, we are social animals. Every social animal, emotionally, there is something to bring together. That is love. Other social animal, like animal or some birds, because lack of ability of brain, their altruism or their love is limited. Only towards directly related. But we human beings, because of this marvelous brain, we have the ability to develop infinite love. Now this, not just mere, the religious practice or something. No. Look, our world, this very moment, we enjoy peaceful and sort of some kind of happy atmosphere. But same time, same planet, same human being, millions of people suffer immensely, particularly those young children facing due to starvation, dying in Ethiopia, in Yemen, and some other area, and Africa also. When we see young children, very thin, dying, we have certain sort of the ability to feed them, to take care of them, but on the basis of too much emphasis, we and they, and sometimes deliberately create more suffering on others, and finally including killing. Unfortunately, nowadays, one human being killed by animal, elephant or tiger, it becomes news. Oh, very sad. One human being killed by wild animal. But human being, killing by human being, now more or less now normal. How bad now that? So now, today's situation, the 7 billion human beings sort of live and faces, I think, a lot of suffering, which is essentially our own creation. Nature disaster beyond our control. But these killing, starvation, these mainly our own creation. Why? Our scientists say basic human nature is more compassionate. And then also, as I mentioned, we all have the seed of compassion. However, that are potential dormant, and a more artificial feeling take upper hand. This now, so therefore, we really need sense of human brothers, sisters, and with that, sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings is very, very necessary. Many problems which our own creation, you see, based on the lack of sense of, oneness of 7 billion human beings. So therefore, now I believe we need every effort to promote sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. If that sense lacking, even religion also now create division and killing each other. If we have sense of oneness is there, then religion also become more, I think I may say the religion then will not create more problem, more division. Like that. So, thank you very much. You invited me here, have some sort of discussion, some talk. The firstly, number one, is we, as a human being, we need sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. Then secondly, I am Buddhist. See, religious tolerance is very essential. This is certainly possible because in this country, India, I think beside a homegrown different religious tradition, that is Sankhya philosophy, Jain philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, and then later Sikhism, these are, and then different sort of Hindu tradition is homegrown religion. Then from outside, Zoroastrian come. Then Judaism come. Christianity come. Then Muslim come. So, last, I think, several centuries, India become home of all world major religious tradition live together. Occasionally some problems. Mainly I think politicians. Sometimes politicians manipulate. Otherwise, I think ordinary people, I think, take for granted there are different religious traditions. So in Indian mind, the pluralism of religion, from birth, that concept there. Whereas some country, only one religion, then it's the concept of just one religion, one truth. So in their eye, other religious follower is something sinful, worthy to eliminate. So India, I think one advantage, over 2,000, 3,000 years, these different traditions live together. So now today, India is the really example, living example. Different tradition, different religious tradition can live together. So my second commitment is promotion of religious harmony. With conviction, it is possible to create genuine religious harmony on the basis of spiritual brothers, sisters, like that. And then my third commitment is as a Tibetan. As far as temporal responsibility is concerned, since 2001, we already achieved elected political leadership. So since then, my position is semi-retired position. Then 2011, I totally retired. No longer the temporal responsibility. I have not only myself retired, But 4th-century-old tradition, Dalai Lama institution, eventually automatically become head of both temporal and spirituality. Now that formally, proudly, voluntarily cease. Because I believe democracy, these systems, there are some sort of connection with the feudal system. So feudal system is outdated. So in the name of religious institution, in the name of religion, or anyone, anyway, some connection with thinking, old system, feudal system. For example, in this country, there's still so-called caste system, untouchable people. These, I feel, feudal system creates that kind of concept. Upper class, they have certain right. The so-called low caste people, the upper caste can exploit these people. So these are old thinking which connected with feudal system. These things must change. Firstly, I myself, the Dalai Lama institution, eventually become head of both. That is, I feel, outdated. So I voluntarily cease that tradition. Since then, I become just ordinary Tibetan, no longer as any sort of political responsibility and political matter or elected political leadership, fully carry responsibility like that. So then my sort of responsibility regarding Tibet is preserve Tibetan environment. One Chinese ecologist, he wrote one article. I heard that article. He mentioned Tibetan plateau. You see, very important because effect from Tibetan plateau for global warming, the effect from Tibetan plateau is as much as South Pole and North Pole. So he described Tibetan plateau is third pole. One Chinese ecologist wrote that. He, as a result of study, observed the situation at Tibetan plateau, like that. So then obviously, major river which cover almost whole Asia, from Yangtze River up to Sindh River, Pakistan, Sindhu River, the whole this area, you see, major river which flow in these countries originally come from Tibet. So in these rivers, I think over billion human beings' life depend on this river. So taking care Tibetan environment is not only for 6 million Tibetan people, but over billion human beings' life, and including large number of Chinese, and also the Vietnam or Laos or Cambodia, this area, then of course Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan also. So therefore, my sort of commitment regarding promotion of awareness is the importance of Tibetan environment, one thing. Then, second, Tibetan culture. Now today, I can sort of proudly to state in the front of Indian. Historically, you Indian were our guru. All our knowledge come from India. The other day, I was in Orissa, Undipisha. I really feeling in morning, I carry my sort of prayer, some meditation about certain tantric deities, the lineage, the original lineage from Orissa. So I really feel something. Then here, Bengal, Shantarakshita, his own birthplace is Bangladesh, Bangladesh or Bengal. Then that's 8th century. Then 11th century, Atisha Dibongara from Bengal. So we have some special connection. Then of course, Nalanda in India, Bihar, Nalanda, like Nagarjuna, Are Asanga, Bhuttapalita, Arjandeva, Chandakirti, Digna, Dharmakirti, these great scholars. I usually describe these people not only just Buddhist master, but professors of Nalanda University, Nalanda City, Center. We can look, we can see they are writing, not just some prayer, some ritual, but explaining, including quantum physics, very clearly mentioned. And then psychology. Usually I express publicly also, maybe too extreme, maybe because a little bit prejudice. As a result of a lot of sort of meeting, discussion with the Western sort of scientists, including psychologists, I found existing Western psychology, compare ancient Indian psychology, looks to see almost like a kindergarten level. The ancient Indian psychology, highly developed, really. So therefore, all these and the logic, or mainly, you see, explained by Dignac and Dharmakirti of Nalanda institution. Like Dharmakirti's the Parmana Vatika Karika. Oh, wonderful. Then Dignac's Kasa. Pramana Samuchaya. All these we still use as our textbook. We still use. So that means in history, in the past history, you Indian, our teacher. I always described we Tibetan chela of Indian guru. And I also mentioning, we not only chela, but reliable, trusted chela. Truly. While Guru's own land, these knowledge more or less reach nirvana. We still kept this knowledge. So it's quite sufficient to prove we are reliable chela. So now, my own sort of little sort of story. When I carry study as ordinary monk student too, Tibetan quite practical. During ceremony, I put on high throne as a Dalai Lama. But for study is concerned, they treated me like ordinary student. So my tutor keep one whip to threat me. So I often telling whip, suppose for me, that is yellow whip. So suppose to see yellow whip holy whip for holy student. But I know if holy whip use, no differences of holy pain. So out of fear, I carry study. But otherwise, I was very, very lazy student and very reluctant to study these things. So in early age, I studied these things, no interest. Then gradually I found, this knowledge very, very helpful to transform my own emotion. And then in, I think early 50s, I pay more attention these knowledge and simultaneously practice. Very, very helpful. Then after 59, I think a large number of Tibetan follow Vidasare, follow, including many scholars and students. So we re-establish this big learning center in India, now mainly in South India, Karnataka state. Over 10,000 monk students there and a few thousand nuns. So the early period of refugee life make every effort to how to preserve this knowledge. Then in 70s, firstly I visited Europe, and then Soviet Union, 79, Soviet Union, and then America. I noticed, some of our knowledge is something relevant to today's world. More and more people showing, not as a religion, but academic subject, psychology, and deeper philosophical views, including quantum physics, like that. When we discuss with Western the scientists about mind, about brain, they really surprised. So our sort of explanation about the whole system of our mind and relation with brain, these things. So then I felt, now the tradition which we preserved is something relevant to today's world. So then I start some program in Tibetan monastic institution, learning English and learning scientist. So now some Tibetan monk scholar who already now can speak a little English and then some Hindi, like that. So now my point is, because of these sort of experience, now another my sort of commitment is they introduce among Indians and eventually a revival of ancient Indian knowledge in modern India. Not religion, but this knowledge as an academic subject. Because now I fully convinced problem which we are facing, problem created by human themselves. You see, lack of moral principle. That's ultimately a lack of compassion. Because existing modern education very much oriented about material value, not taking care about our inner value. Inner value is concerned, then religious sort of, also the group supposed to take care. But then, when modern education starts in Europe, then maybe more sort of balance, moral ethics carried by monastery, nunnery, and modern, newly developed modern education carried by newly established separate education institution. Now gradually, I think the real effect to people from religious sort of the message of love, forgiveness, tolerance, these things. Actually, I think according to theistic religion, we all 7 billion human beings are children of God. All are brothers, sisters. But these not much sort of they convince, just saying nice word. But actually, if you truly believe that, then how can you let these poor people dying, poor children dying, and how to kill other human brothers, sisters? And the worst thing, in the name of religion, impossible. But these religious sort of belief, unfortunately, sometimes become lip service, saying something nice, but are doing something different. Because lack of conviction. Conviction, according to Indian tradition, conviction comes from reasoning, analyze, not through prayer. So therefore, now the education alone should take both responsibility, development of intelligence and development of warm-heartedness. So it is very possible now in this country, you already have all these knowledge, how to tackle our emotion. This is your knowledge. So modern India neglected these things. Otherwise, these are your tradition, your knowledge. Now time come, India should combine modern education, the modern technology, and modern science, modern economy, these things, plus inner value through education, and about mind, about emotion, strictly secular way. So now my commitment is try to revival this knowledge in modern India, not through teaching, not through prayer, but through education. So Indian education, according to Indian sort of constitution, secular. Secular means respect all religion and also respect non-believer. So that way of approach can cover 7 billion human beings. If moral ethics based on religion, then out of 7 billion, or 1 billion non-believer will not reach these people. So according to Indian sort of secular way, teach sort of the moral values strictly through secular way, and that can reach 7 billion human being, entire human being. So now, in this country, I really see great hope, great future of this country. I think India, world now today, some kind of emotional crisis there. In this field, India can make significant contribution. In order to make contribution, world at large, firstly, must introduce within the country. So that's my fourth commitment. So rest of my life, maybe another 10 years or 15 years, maximum 20 years, then I will say, goodbye, bye-bye. So till my last day come, I fully committed, try to promote ancient Indian knowledge in modern India through education. Then also, you see, I always feel China, the ancient nation, and historically, Han people, Chinese, Buddhist community, wherever Chinatown there, Chinese community there, Buddhist temple usually happen. So therefore, now today, China, around 400 million Buddhist. So eventually, some opportunity come. I really, you see, thinking the revival of these ancient sort of Buddhist value in China. And then, in that case, if you see some possibility come, then India, over 1 billion population, China also over 1 billion, these two together, I think, more than 2 billion human beings. So this is not a question of sort of, what should they introduce some alien thing. No. In the West, the Eastern sort of philosophy, these things are something alien. But Indian and Chinese, these concepts is not alien, familiar. The only question is, people pay attention or not. That's the question. Otherwise, these are your own sort of tradition. So that is my main talk, revival of ancient Indian knowledge. Now some questions. A question including argument. As I mentioned earlier, I study logic under the thread of whip, because whip. So I want to prove how my mind is more logical or illogical. I want to show you.
Thank you. We'll have some questions now. May I request Mr. Rupen Roy to flag off?
Your Holiness, thank you for an excellent talk. My question is that artificial intelligence and robots, and artificial intelligence is going to throw out thousands of people from their occupation and jobs. So how does the ancient Indian compassion play in making sure the new society where machines and robots will coexist with human beings? What is this knowledge going to help us with?
I think logically, every human, action, including in technology, the motivation is the key factor. So motivation with sense of concern of well-being of other. Then, with that motivation, you see, use technology is wonderful. Then what do you call artificial intelligence. Yes, some technologists, some sort of scientists, they believe that. I don't think. Human brain is something very unique. Machine, I think, machine in some extent copy our thinking. But I think truly initiative, I don't think machine have the ability. I think, at least 21st century, I don't think machine can work everything. If machine really work everything, then we don't need any study, just rely and let the machine, because of more research work, more things. I don't think. I love technology. since my childhood. But there is, I think, limitation. I don't think. So like any human society, including technology and economy, carried with combination, human intelligence, human warm-heartedness combined, then every human action becomes constructive. Intelligence alone combined with hatred, with anger, then sometimes human intelligence becomes destructive. Yes.
Richa Agarwal, there on the right.
Namaskar, Your Holiness. I feel deeply humbled to be in your presence here today. And I would like to ask you your advice on how we should bring up our next generation to be responsibly good people.
I always say, telling people with my conviction. Now, 20th century gone. That I usually make sort of distinction, generation of 20th century and generation of 21st century. Now, generation of 20th century, like myself, and some of older gentlemen, suppose more experience, but our century already gone. So sooner or later, time come, we say goodbye from the earth. Now the generation of 21st century, this 21st century, just the beginning. So if generation of 21st century, you see, make effort with vision, long-sighted and holistic, I think this 21st century can be more happier century. The 20th century, too much violence, war. According to some historians, say about 200 millions of people killed through war, through violence, and nuclear weapon. I really feel pity those great sort of scientists. You see, they are marvelous sort of we may call analytical meditation. They really sort of analyze things. And then that best sort of human brain used for destruction. So that's 20th century. So now many concerned people's way of thinking still carry the old centuries way of thinking. One example is whenever they find some obstacle, they only sort of think how to solve that by force. That 20th century's way of thinking. Now we are 21st century. We are in 21st century. Some problem among humanity always remain. Last, I think, 3,000-4,000 years, some problem among human beings always there. The next, just a few centuries, problem remain there. So now we must utilize human way of approach, not weapon. Look, we already witnessed. Now, for example, the President Bush Jr., I love him, wonderful person. When we met him, you see, we immediately developed the human level close feeling. So when we sat on chair, and then some tea and some cookie come, then I express, oh, which cookie is better? He immediately said, oh, that one very good. He already tested this one very good. So that shows human, not like you see, president. Oh, some things they happen, they remain. Oh, what's the kasurta, more sort of a formal way. some president more formal way. As a matter of fact, I think, frankly speaking, President Clinton, in my first meeting, quite distance. And second meeting, little closer. Third meeting, further closer. Then later I told him, our friendship not develop at once, remain distance. Then second meeting, third meeting, closer, closer. President Bush, not like that. Very good. Then later, the Iraq crisis, you see, happened. Then, one occasion, we met. I told him, I respect you, I love you, but your policy is concerned, some of your policy is concerned, I have great reservation. So look like that. I think President Bush's motivation and goal is good. Bring democracy in Iraq. But his method wrong. Use force. So that, I think, one of the, contribution. Now, a lot of problem. So-called, some bad relation with many Muslim community. If he, you see, not using force, and if possible, you see, spend more money for education in the Muslim world and bring more scholarship, more Muslim students. I think today situation, I think certainly may be different. So that's one example. Good motivation with short-sightedness and old thinking, use force, wrong, totally wrong. Therefore, now time come, we have to think. And this also now India sort of, the century-old tradition of ahimsa. Mahatma Gandhi carried struggle according to the non-violent ahimsa principle. So therefore, in this century, I think the problem will remain. So long we human beings remain, some problem always remain. But the way to face this problem, the way to solve this problem, we should develop new way to approach. That's a human way. That's a dialogue, talk, and without losing compassion, respect them as human brothers, sisters. Never sort of carry action with anger. Like that. So, this century, 21st century, can be a peaceful century. Peaceful does not mean no longer any problem, but only the way to handle this problem, peaceful way, non-violent way, ahimsa. Actually, ahimsa, any action out of anger, not be ahimsa. Ahimsa only out of compassion, karuna. The action level, ahimsa, motivation level, karuna. That is genuine ahimsa. So, I often you see expressing, now eventually we should imagine world without armament, demilitarized world. I think, of course, my lifetime will not achieve, but generation of 21st century, I think, should keep in your mind, eventually this world should be demilitarized world. Any problem through dialogue, through talk. And then further, I always admire the spirit of European Union. There are common interest, common entity, that's Europe. So they consider Europe is more important than different nations, German or French Italy, so on. If European Union developed, then I think last few decades, I think some violence among these member states. Because of European Union, it's a member state, last few decades, no violence among themselves. So I always was expressing, now like European Union, African Union, at the beginning, not entire Africa, but Northern Africa, Southern Africa, so on, some kind of union developed. Then Latin America. Then eventually union in Asia. I think your ear maybe is too unrealistic. I feel union, India, China, Japan, and then small countries in this area, some kind of union. I really feel that. Then political boundary, not important. Demarcation, political boundary, is troublemaker. And look, Africa, same community, or like the Kurdish people, same community. What is it then? Political demarcation, something different. Oh, very sad. One time, Mr. Brown or something, the governor of California, what called? Oh, he once told me, from space, if you look, no national boundaries, just one continent or continent like that. It is true. Much problem which we are facing, including killing, is due to secondary level of differences. Different religion, different political map, or different nationality. So, I think these eventually, create some kind of distance, or that nation, my nation, and plus weapon. I think most of these human problems are our own creation. Therefore, once we achieve demilitarized world, I think a lot of problem will reduce, and then they ultimately, one world, one human world. The driven sort of political, or say, demarcation. Like that. So I think in essence, the present world situation will not bring happy, peaceful 21st century. We must think how to change that. Now this is the right time at the beginning. So the generation of 21st century, you may see little peaceful world, better world you can see. My generation will not see. Sometimes I jokingly is expressing, according to theistic religion, believe God, and then you will reach heaven. Not believe God and go to hell. So we Buddhists and Jains are non-believer. We have no concept of God. Buddha stated very clearly, self-creation. So we are quite sinful. So according to that sort of theory, my next destination is hell. Archbishop Bishop Tutu, a wonderful sort of spiritual sort of master, wonderful. We always teasing each other. He always described me, the mischievous Dalai Lama. And I respond him, mischievous bishop. So we always joking, teasing each other. One occasion he mentioned, he as a good Christian practitioner, he ready to go to heaven. Dalai Lama go something different place. That strictly speaking hell. so that I usually say telling people, even I may in the hell, I may get some permission, vacation, come to world to see. Then world, the 21st century generation, through your motivation or long-sighted vision, create better world, peaceful world. Then when I return to hell, I will report, now hell can reduce. So people in this planet now becoming wonderful, peaceful, harmony. Other hand, you see the world still carry same way, killing, bully each other like that. Then I have to report, hell not only preserve but should expand because more people are ready to come to hell. Like that. So therefore, now the generation of the 21st century, I think you should make effort with the vision and holistic view, and mainly sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. Different nation, different religion, different country is secondary. We must go deeper level, the same human being. Emotionally, mentally, physically, all 7 billion human beings are same. Next question.
Yes. Professor Sopan Datta.
Good morning, Your Holiness. Your key message today that education would be the driving force for a better human life and humanity. But as you know that the country is run by the politicians, India and elsewhere. So what would be your advice, a proper education for our politicians?
Now actually, we already started some research how to introduce moral ethics in secular education field. Some university, including Emory University in America, they already now last, I think, more than 10 years. You see, they carry some sort of work, drafting the curriculum, like that. So now within the country, some institution, some university, some institution, and actually now so carry some research work and something, although small, but some kind of pilot project already now carrying. So December, next month, in Bombay, we're going to have some serious discussion how to introduce India's secular modern education about the secular ethics. So like that, I fully committed, and many of my Indian friends already involved. Now next year, I think almost certain we can produce some sort of draft curriculum about secular ethics. So then some college or some sort of school carry according to these sort of new text, and we'll see result. In America, at least 2 cities, one city, they developed very name of the city, City of Kindness, and another one, City of Compassion. So accordingly, within the city, they carry more sort of program about kindness or compassion. So result, significantly, it's a positive result, they told me. So these are not sort of I initiated, but themselves initiated. So they, I met these people, so they told me, you see, more sort of education about this compassion, kindness, it really makes differences. In this city of kindness, the student within the city much more peaceful, and much more sort of enthusiasm to help other people, serving other people. So education makes differences like that. So I think in this country, I think within, I think next year, I think we may reach certain sort of draft way. So then we'll see, hopefully, some sort of education institution carry further sort of say, experiment. Then after 1 year, 2, 3 years, at national level, some kind of meeting and discuss. Of course, government of India or state government also, you see, may eventually may involve these things. Okay.
Mr. Gaurav Jalan.
Your Holiness, you have been the Dalai Lama for 77 years, or almost the Dalai Lama for life. Do you think that it has taken you away from your personal life, and had you not been the Dalai Lama, what would you have liked it to be?
I always keep, and when I was young, I have no sort of today ability to think separation, being a human being, or Lamun Tendru, or Tenzin Gyatso, and Dalai Lama. Nowadays, wherever I go, meet people, I always carry that I am one of the human being, nothing else. If I too much sort of emphasis, I am Dalai Lama, or some special one, some holy person, then actually it develops loneliness in my mind. Because out of 7 billion human beings, only one Dalai Lama. So I feel lonely. I emphasize more human being. So wherever I go, and human place, feel we are same, we are same. Nothing barrier. So I think you also, I think you're some successful businessmen or women, and some other sort of profession. When we born without that profession, just a human being. I also, when I born, just one Amdo child. Nothing special. So that is basic our sort of, because entity way. Identity. Human being. That's important. So when I carry the full conviction, I am just one human being. And then very easy to talk with other people. No formality, nothing. And sometimes with that feeling, sometimes maybe too frank. And also you see, my smile is spontaneous smile from that feeling. If I consider I am a holy person. Or one time, Bishop Tutu teasing me, you see, you are holiness, you should be more holy. Like that. Okay. Next question.
Yeah, Mr. Ganesh.
My humble greetings to His Holiness. 2,500 years ago, Gautam, the Buddha, he talked about the universal religion, the universal Dhamma, and how we can walk on the noble path. In this life, in the current life that we are leading, the generation X, Y, Z, whatever we call them, they are struggling how to cope with the ancient Indian knowledge and the current difficulties or challenges that we face on a daily basis. How do you wish us to follow the noble path while being able to lead our lives on a daily basis?
I think some kind of sort of concept, universal way. I think any religion, I think, have that kind of sort of concept. So any religion, you see, carry the sort of some idea, one religion, one truth. Buddhism may be a little better. You see, Buddha's own teaching. You see, different audience with different mental disposition, Buddha taught different philosophy, different teaching. So therefore, you see, Buddha also mentioned, "Oh, my follower, monks, scholars should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." That's, I think, quite unique. So therefore, see, many Buddhist followers, mainly Nalendra master, such as Nagarjuna and Chandakirti, these people rejected some of Buddha's own teaching. If you accept this teaching, it goes against reason. So we should not accept that teaching. That's quite unique. So I also say, in some extent, I also say follow that way. Many Buddhist sort of literature mentioned flat world and in the center, Mount Meru. I publicly reject. This is not a reality. The old ancient people, I think the general public feel, or there is some sort of mountain and flat world and the sun and the moon. Sometimes I jokingly is expressing one Basubandh, younger brother of Arya Asanga. So he wrote Abhidhammakosha Karika. We also learned by heart. I also say now most part forgot. Otherwise I learned by heart. So in it, you see mentioned the Mount Meru and the sun and the moon, same level, go like that. And then more or less same sight, sun and the moon. That's a disgrace. So sometimes I jokingly is expressing, when Basubandh wrote Abhidhammakosha Karika, naturally his age quite old, so his eyesight not good. So when cloudy day, he tried to look sun and night moon, almost same size. So he expressed that way. So now we know sun much, much bigger because of distance, like that. Then Mount Meru, I think millions of people flying from India to Europe, Europe to America, America to Japan, and then India. So at least some people should see Mount Meru. No one. So therefore, you see, we take liberty to reject this. No problem. So that's, I think, unique thing about the Buddha Dharma. And particularly Nalanda tradition. Pali tradition not reject, I think, Buddha's word. Because many concepts based on Buddha's quotation, but Sanskrit tradition on reason. So, a certain sort of Buddhist concept goes against our reason, then we have to reject. So now, I think I think each religious tradition have the concept of one religion, one truth. But that, in old time, the teacher, taught their own tradition in their immediate circle, so the concept of one truth, one religion is relevant. Now today's world, look, east, west, north, south, so many teachings. So, concept of one truth, one religion is outdated, too much narrow-minded. So since, as was Buddha accepted the people with different mental disposition, so need a different way of approach. So this is very helpful for me. So the theistic religion, like Judaism or Christian, and Islam, and many other, and within India also. But same time, as I mentioned earlier, the Sankhyaism, no God. One part of Sankhyaism, no God. Jizo sarkare.
The Sankhya tradition uses the term pradhan. Pradhan.
Oh, pradhan, right. That's the ultimate truth, no God. And then, Kasachudi. Jain, also no creator, but rather self-creation, as I briefly mentioned. And Buddha Dharma also very clearly mentioned. So there are several sort of different also teaching or different truths there. So then, I think the Nalanda tradition, according to my own experience, over 30 years, I have serious discussion with the modern scientists. Then many concepts, such as quantum physics, very similar. One time, an Indian nuclear physicist, Raja Ramana, I think many of you, should know. Raja Ramana. Once he told me, in the West, quantum physics is something new idea. But in this country, over 2,000 years ago, already developed that concept. He mentioned to me. He noticed one Nagarjuna's writing mentioned that nothing independently exists. Like that. And then psychology, I think Western sort of existing psychology is mainly based on sensorial level, not brain level. Difficult. So in Indian tradition, practice of shamatha, practice of vipassana there, is irrespective of the Buddhists or Hindus. These principles same. Shila, practice of shamatha, practice of vipassana is basically same. So I usually describe the Hindu tradition is something like twin brothers. Buddhism and Hinduism basically like the twin brothers, sisters. Many similarities. Except the differences, Buddha taught non-self theory, anatma theory. All the Hindu tradition, including Jains, accept Atma. So Atma and Anatma. So one time in Bangalore, one sadhu who really helping, providing meal to several thousand students. Wonderful. So one occasion we met, and then I told, through our talk, I mentioned practice of Shila, practice of Shamatha, practice of Vipassana, we are same. They accept concept of Atma and Anatma. That's our private business. You believe Atma, I believe Anatma. So no interference in each other, so no problem. But the common practice is same. So like that. Now, so you see modern sort of psychology, only recently I was in Italy, some meeting with some scientist. So when they explain about psychology, these things, only sensorial level, not deeper level. So their knowledge very limited, and that's understandable. Judeo-Christian tradition is faith towards Creator. So everything can fulfill through prayer. But whereas Indian tradition, you yourself have the responsibility. You should transform your emotion. So automatically more explanation about the whole system of our emotion. Nowadays, I sort of mentioning the hygiene of physical, we also used to learn. So now, similarly, we need hygiene of emotion. That's important as a part of education, not a religious practice. Simply, see how to. Now scientists say the constant anger, constant fear, hatred, actually eating our immune system. So in order to achieve healthy body, the healthy mind is very essential. And then sometimes I jokingly so teasing the ladies who quite attractive. You say I usually teasing the beautiful face, but showing angry, then no longer any beauty, isn't it? So therefore, I have one story. In early 60s, one Tibetan official, monk official, who served inside Tibet also, very, very trusted official, wonderful. So eventually he disrobed. So since we know each other very well, so one day I teasing him, "Oh, your wife, not that much attractive." Then his answer is, physically, not much, but internal beauty is wonderful. So then I have no further argument. So like that. So you see, healthy mind, peaceful mind, compassionate mind, automatically bring happy face. So angry face or too much sort of self-centered attitude and suspicion, then occasionally you have to show smile, but that smile is artificial smile. Sometimes I describing artificial smile, the variety, diplomatic smile, that also artificial smile. Many Chinese officials, they are quite expert artificial smile. I think you businessmen also some, I think, practice of artificial smile. Like that. So therefore, inner peace is, I think, real inner beauty. When that is there, your health is better. You always show smile and with sincere feeling. Then immediately bring more friends. Recently, one was a Tibetan master, a good scholar and a good practitioner. He, I think, very little to show smile. So I teasing him, if Dalai Lama said carrying your sort of style without smile, go like that, then I think Dalai Lama definitely less friend. Me, always smile, always teasing, joking. So automatically, I found many, many friends in India, in Europe, in America, in everywhere. If I remain more holy, not smile, I don't think. And then I have these sort of the genuine friends, like that. And my physical also, I think, now 82-year-old person. My knees, no effect from my love, from my compassion, not much effect. But my brain is concerned, I think loving kindness practice, immense sort of benefit. My brain remain fresh and quite sort of sharp mind. One my story. Recently I was in East India, in Tawang area. One politician from Delhi, he joined. So within few days we become very close friend. Then one next morning, when we met, he asked me, how your good sleep, or how rest. Then I told him, sleep for me, no problem. I always 9 hours sleep. Then about 4-5 hours meditation, sharpening my mind so that I can cheat other people more easily. Then his answer, very nice, you see. He can sleep only 6 hours, so he cannot cheating other people. So like that, I think mental level, I think peaceful mind. Peaceful mind, not through darkness or not through drug, some kind of through training of our mind. Anger, always bad for our peaceful mind. And then health, and also I think very bad for our intelligence, the ability of analyze. When you carry, I think one unique thing about human brain, our ability to analyze, which we call analytical meditation or vipassana. Analyze. So for that, if your mind, much sort of emotion there, then you cannot carry that properly. So in order to carry investigation, your mind must be very calm. Otherwise, too much emotion, you can't see the reality. Your whole mind becomes biased. So in order to analyze the thing or reality, your mind should be calm. Like that. I may sort of share with you, since many years, I have some sort of curiosity. The scientist, because of the quantum physicist, those quantum physicists, he not only just intellectually understand, but fully convinced with conviction. Such people may have some differences about the intensity of emotion. So I express few occasions, mainly to scientists. If you have some occasion, some opportunity, please observe these quantum physicists who truly believe that, and there may be the emotional levels, maybe some differences. But no answer come so far. At least a few years, no one answered that. But recently, I heard one article wrote by one Chinese quantum physicist in China proper. In his article, the person who believed quantum physics, the emotional feeling very much based on extreme views, or very positive, very negative. That kind of extreme view is much less. So emotion more less. So Buddhists use this theory. Nothing independently exists, that we call shunyata. Shunyata means patita samubandha, interdependency. So things exist due to other factor, not by itself or independently. So that understanding is antidote or a basis of emotion which consider things independently exist there, either absolute, white or black. So that Buddhists, you see, that theory used for antidote of destructive emotion, like that. So these are quite interesting. So my main point is, you see, Western psychology not yet, you see, developed as high as ancient Indian sort of psychology, highly developed. So I think India have great potential to help humanity in order to reduce emotion. So I may call something like wild emotion now today's world, including some leaders, some kind of, because the wild emotions were so difficult, isn't it? So I think in order to develop stable mind, and through that way, or with that, you can analyze things more correctly. In order to analyze things, things are relative, depend on many other factors. You cannot say just one absolute. So therefore, you see, when we investigate, we should keep various different angles. You cannot see through one angle the reality. You must use 3 dimension, 4 dimension, 6 dimension. And then you can see the reality. Once you realize that reality fully, then your action becomes realistic. Otherwise, too much emotion, just one side, and accordingly you carry some effort, is unrealistic effort. Isn't it? Like that. Okay. Still some.
Should we take 1 or 2 more, or should we have water thanks?
No, a few. Consider. So, still 15-20 minutes.
Okay.
We can discuss.
Okay. Mr. Jalan?
His Holiness, how do we let go and how do we love without attachment?
Compassion. 2 kinds of compassion. One compassion or love, biological factor. That's always biased and very much based on others' action or attitude. That is conditional sort of love. So that actually very much combined with attachment. Attachment often become basis of hatred. So now genuine compassion without attachment. So genuine compassion can extend towards your enemy. As far as their action is concerned, they are enemy, harming you. But still human being, but still sentient being. They deserve our love. So keep, I think, some practices mentioned. Your enemy is best teacher for your practice. So through that way, you can develop gratitude. Or you criticize me, you give me opportunity to practice forgiveness, tolerance. So that unbiased, that compassion can cover entire sentient being, particularly including your enemy. The biological factor, love, there's much more mixed with attachment, so mainly towards their attitude. So there's biased and attachment. Next question.
And the last one is Mrs. Bajoria there. Last one.
Your Holiness, I have two small questions. You said that differences can be resolved through dialogues. So when will your differences with Chinese officials who give artificial smile will be resolved through dialogue? This is number one. And number two, you said that everything depends on this oneness of 7 billion people. In India, we also need oneness of the country. Recently, there have been questions that whether everything is okay in India because the oneness is missing. So how do you see the present Indian context, number one? And number two, when will your differences with Chinese officials be resolved through dialogue?
Okay. China, you see, over, I think, 2,000 years, we have some, as a neighbor or close. And 7th century on, you see, many Tibetan emperor, you see, marry with Chinese princess. So very close relation. And most important Buddha statue at Lhasa, brought by Chinese princess. Originally in Bodh Gaya, and from Bodh Gaya to China in Xingyan, the ancient Chinese capital. In 1954, I also visited that temple. One empty seat there. They told us the Buddha statue, which now keep in Lhasa, so that Kasoda, from there, you see, brought to Tibet, like that. So, over several centuries, through marriage, sometimes very close relation, sometimes fight. At one occasion, when I was in that city, Xingyan city, one day, you see, we take some Kasoda sightseeing and ancient wall. Everybody now sit there rest about afternoon before sunset, like that. So then one high Chinese officials accompanied with me. He told me, he didn't mention century, but he mentioned in early part, Tibetan army reached here, and the Chinese emperor fled to his own capital city. Like that. Yeah. So sometimes Tibet invaded China. At Xingyan, you can see on map quite far distance from Tibetan border. Like that. And sometimes you see Chinese invaded on us, like that, as a neighbor. So long time sort of relations. Now today, number of Chinese now gradually understanding what really happened last few decades. I met number of Chinese, they expressing to me. And then, I think 4 or 5 years ago, we noticed about 1,000 articles wrote by Chinese, about 200 to 300 writers in mainland China itself. Then some writer from Taiwan or overseas Chinese. All 1,000 articles fully support about our middle way of approach and very critical about their own government policy. So this is the reflection of ordinary Chinese scholar or Chinese sort of people feeling that. So it's a support. And since we are not seeking independence, as I mentioned earlier, I really admire the spirit of European Union. One time, I consider my sort of tutor about quantum physics, von Weizsäcker, now no longer. David Bohm and von Weizsäcker, these two scientists, I consider my teacher about quantum physics. So I usually describe me hopeless student. Reason, when I listen their explanation about quantum physics, it seems I understand something. After discussion finished, nothing left here. So that shows me hopeless student. So von Weizsäcker in 1990s, one occasion, he told me when he was a young German, as a young German, French is their enemy. Similarly, in every French eye, Germany is their enemy. Now that kind of sort of thinking, that kind of sort of attitude completely changed. Then 1990s, he mentioned that. So look, Adenauer, I think first president of Germany, Adenauer, and also you see the de Gaulle, General de Gaulle. During wartime, arch enemy. But then these European countries, you see, they become mature, too much suffering they experience as a result of war. So then use common sense, then better to live together as a European Union. So I always say, admire the spirit of European Union. So as I mentioned briefly also at the beginning, in my talk. So India also, whether you call, actually you see, Union of India, same spirit. In before, so many rajas here. Then, recently I was in Kolkata. Mare. No, Kolkata. Or Manipur. One sort of meeting with journalists. One journalist asked me, some local politician feel some kind of independence of Manipur. Then I mentioned, now modern India is some kind of union. East India, South India, West India, North India, Central India, different language, even different script. But all remain in union of India. As a matter of fact, one time, Hu Jintao, former president, China, when he visited India, one journalist asked me, what your sort of message or suggestion to Hu Jintao? I expressed, I hope Hu Jintao should learn India's union. Different language, different script, with that, some extent, some different sort of cultural heritage, but all remain union. Different culture, different script, no danger of separation. So President Hu Jintao should learn that. Tibetan, different culture, different language, different script, should not consider source of threat of separation. So we, since 1974, we committed not seeking independence. Tibetan also want modernized Tibet. We need more material development. For that, remain within the People's Republic of China is our interest. provided they should respect Tibetan unique cultural heritage and language. Then there's a mutual benefit like that. So therefore, number of Chinese now really appreciate that way of approach, as I mentioned earlier. Then I personally also used to have several sort of occasions when I met some Chinese student and some Chinese scholar. At the beginning, some little bit sort of was nervous and remain a little bit distance. When we talk start, I mentioned our position, not seeking independence. Then immediately all those Chinese, then big smile, spontaneous smile, and at the beginning somehow reluctant picture with me. Then after these things, these become clear that everybody rushing towards me and make picture like that. So, of course, the Chinese people love their own country as we love our own country. The past is past. We have to look future. So like that. In Kasa, Jagarwe. Second part. India, I think, in spite of some problem here and there, I think in this country, the most populated democratic country and ancient country, throughout over, I think, 3,000 years, you have the concept of ahimsa. And with that, religious tolerance. So modern India, I think, very much based on sound historical culture and way of thinking. So now, I think India, and then look after independence, India, I think India is a complicated sort of nation, but very stable, very peaceful. Compare Sri Lanka, small country, some problems. Pakistan also some problem. And Bangladesh also some problem. I think India, most stable. One time I was sort of expressing the Indian people, compare Chinese people, Indian people seems more lazy. You should take more hard work and with vision. That's important. I think climate also, create that. Very hot, so relax. I think basically I really feel India, I think very sound basis. This new union of India, I think wonderful. Many years ago, the Bhinu Babaji, I met, I think in 1956, briefly. Bhinu Babaji have idea, A, B, C, and India and Pakistan. So A means Afghanistan, B, Burma, C, Sri Lanka, then India, Pakistan, some kind of federation or some kind of union. I think these are really far-sighted. If that kind of thinking materialize, then certainly Afghanistan much more peaceful, and Pakistan also peaceful, and Sri Lanka also peaceful, and Burma also peaceful, I feel. So India, I think on this world, world stage, I think India, can play some important role. Some politicians, now one bad thing of India is corruption. Corruption, I think, every level. I don't know, your business among the business people, how much corruption, I don't know. So that's, in Chinese case, although socialist country, now eventually capitalist. So huge gap, rich and poor, and a lot of corruption. The new president, Xi Jinping, really, I think, courageously struggle, fight corruption. So then, China, basically a non-believer. They deliberately promotion of non-belief. Now, of course, the reality is much different. But they are formal official, particularly during Cultural Revolution, they deliberately promoting kasada, atheism, like that. But India, basically, religious nation. So sometimes I jokingly telling, you see, in the family, each family, I think in the morning, you some incense and some flower put in front of Ganesh or some other sort of deities and pray. It seems you pray to God, please, my corrupted life should be successful. So I think religious people, little bit corrupted, that's a big contradiction. No religion, just a matter, money, like that. And then corruption is understandable. So that my sort of say, how to say, constructive criticism to Indian brothers, sisters. Okay.
Thank you.
These things, you see, self-discipline with the moral principle, very important. Otherwise, you see, religious leader, one sort of famous religious guru in Haryana, what do you call? Oh, so great guru, now in prison. Recently I met governor of Punjab. So we discussed, I mentioned, you see, that story. And he indicated, he also some way, some connection where that guru put in prison. Then I told him, oh, you are very sinful. Now guru put in the prison. So, and then among Tibetan also, some Tibetan sort of Lama, much corrupted. In Ladakh also now, some Buddhist Lama corrupted. Without self-discipline. Self-discipline not by law or not by force, but voluntarily. You understand? This is wrong action. And then self-discipline. So, that's my view. And then, now last question. Oh, now?
Should we take the last one?
Yes. Just last question.
The last question.
Have you amongst us? I wish to ask you, how does one take advantage of Buddhist philosophy and ancient Indian knowledge to address political confrontation issues like Doklam, which has recently occurred in
Like
India?
Gaza. Oh.
Issues like
Doklam, oh, I see.
Yes, issues like Doklam of political confrontation which have occurred in India. Given that both are vying to be economic superpowers, India and China, and these issues may occur in the future, you'd like your views on how these can be addressed by peaceful means.
I often now, these days, you see, some questions about the Doklam or something in relation with China. Right from the beginning, I emphasize these minor things. That's not serious. Look, 62 Chinese army reach and nearly, I think, Bondela or something. But then ceasefire and then withdraw. India, not easy. Big nation and a very important nation. So small problem here and there is often, but it's okay. But serious sort of, what is it, because of the warfare or something, I feel impossible. China needs India. India needs China. You have to think so long because of the mutual benefit, and practically neither have ability to destroy other one. You have to live side by side. And use common sense. It's much better, live side by side, and mutually sort of also trade or these things, through these things, mutual benefit. I have full confidence that way. Okay.
Mr. Chatterjee, may
Now,
I now request...
actually, you see, China, not like Cultural Revolution, during Cultural Revolution, or before that, China deliberately isolated, then unpredictable. But now, China, you see, they themselves, economy reason, since Deng Xiaoping, join world economy. So they have to think according to that line. So now today's China, compare 40, 50 years ago, much changed.
Your Holiness, we from Indian Chamber of Commerce don't feel competent to carry a vote of thanks. We just feel the grace that is surrounding us in your presence. Your Holiness, you were exiled to India more than 50 years ago. And as a world leader, you don't have a state. Yet, every day we can see that the relevance of your leadership is more than the relevance of the leadership of the most powerful nation of the world. The commitments that you made today, the commitments for the rest of your life, if those commitments become reality, we do not need strong government or strong cooperation. As Indian Chamber of Commerce, we represent corporations. Today, corporations own resources, own information, take decisions of life and death when a person is sick, decide on education. As business leaders, we have responsibilities. And your sense, that sense of oneness that you spoke of, I hope that when we walk out of this room, which is, I can see everybody is very peaceful, everybody is very happy, and that is because of the presence of Dalai Lama. But when we walk out and we are on our own, I hope we can carry the message with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I always telling people, say, some sort of, what is the effect to the public. We cannot do one individual. But ideas or these things, firstly, for one individual, then 10 individuals, then each 10 their own sort of friend. That means 100. Through that way, 10,000, 100,000, a million. So any sort of society, the business people have opportunity and ability. So now think more seriously. And firstly, say how to reduce this gap, rich and poor. So for that, they provide every sort of facility for education. And then I really feel real transformation of India should take in rural area, not just concentrate on big city. So health viewpoint also, you see, in countryside, more hotel, you see, more also the facility. One time, say, kasa dinne kasa, Sankisa from Delhi, about a 4 hours drive. So once I went there by car, from Delhi. At the Delhi, quite thick sort of. Health viewpoint also not good. Then outside, when you reach the countryside, clean sky. So at that time, I suggested, the local people, you see, should build some nice hotel. Then I think some people very busy in Delhi, I think their weekend, you see, certainly come there. Then you can charge more. So I think real transformation of India as well as China should take on rural area, not just concentrate on big cities. So facility for education, university level, should build in rural area and the hospital. Then I think India, China, both basically farmland. So the rural area is very, very important. Like that I want to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. We have a small token on behalf of Indian Chamber of Commerce. Your Holiness, could we have the honor of presenting this to you?
What is inside?
Darjeeling tea.
Okay.
It's a radio.
That's a very nice music.
Thank you. Thank you.
Darjeeling tea.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
May I request everybody to give a huge round of applause to His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
So last few days, firstly in Delhi, meeting with students and educationists, then Odisha, over I think 20,000 students and some intellectual people. And then now in Kolkata, historically very close with us. Bengal, very close. So I really enjoy my short visit here. Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you.